Meeting called to order. Today is Tuesday, June 6th. It is now 7:20 p.m. Town Council meeting in the Town Council Chambers, 1170 Main Street, West Warwick, Rhode Island. John, will you lead us in prayer?
Let's bow our heads, please. Heavenly Father, we come together this evening as devoted stewards, determined to lead and mindful of our purpose. Guide our hearts and our minds in the decisions that we make in all matters that come before us. Bless this meeting with your divine presence and guide our actions as this council works to serve the good people of the town of West Warwick. Amen.
Amen. Andrew, listen to pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilman Licciardi?
Here.
Councilman Messier?
Here.
Councilman Padula?
Here.
Council Vice President D'Amico?
Here.
Council President Goslin?
Here.
There is a quorum.
Before we move on, I just want to clarify. I had to go back and listen to some minutes last week, and I could not hear the minutes because everybody was speaking over each other. Let's make sure we're talking one at a time. I will be using the gavel a little more if everybody's talking over each other. Thank you.
Minutes of the previous meeting. Resolved that the minutes of the May 30th, 2017 Town Council meeting are hereby accepted.
Move the resolution.
Second the resolution.
Moved and second. Any discussion? Any public discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Consent agenda, license applications. Resolved that the consent agenda, having been posted, all matters being referred to proper departments and being disposed of or awaiting recommendation, the same is hereby approved.
Move the resolution.
Second the resolution.
Moved and second. Discussion? Sir?
Mr. Chairman, is this to move the license applications?
Yeah, but this
Yes.
is just correspondence, it's not,
No, there's license
This is
application.
license application.
oh, is that, is
You
that
have a
on the
concern with one of the
correspondence?
licenses?
I do, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, all right.
Just state your name and address for the record.
Joseph Brennan at 33 College Hill Road, Suite 15E, Warwick, Rhode Island, 02886. I'm here on behalf of Mutual Properties tonight. Wherein have a problem with the application of Riccati Sub Shop. I just want to explain to the board the situation. First of all, there's just two quick items. The first one being that we believe that the property in question might have an issue with parking, that there would be zoning relief as well to move forward with any type of license application, being that it's a new use that's more intense than the previous use. And additionally, the sub shop is moving from the current location there in about year 3 of a 10-year lease. They've already moved out the equipment and they're continuing to. We actually have a TRO in the Superior Court of Kent County, Rhode Island, preventing that. And what we would do is if the council doesn't want to reject the license at this time, at least hold it until further when the court case itself has actually been resolved. I can hand out that complaint, and I also have some photos and items that they would like to see of the equipment being moved out, which has a UCC lien on it currently from the old property.
If I may address the council, without having any of that information, without being able to confirm it before tonight, the council really can't act upon it. As such, you can't do anything to his application for his license this evening. So my suggestion would be is the license would go through as approved unless there's any objection from any of the town officials, and other than that, let the litigation play out. If this information had been provided to us earlier, it could have been addressed in a more, thoughtful manner and process, but just getting it right now, there's no way to confirm anything you're saying.
When did this
Not that I disagree, but it's just that there's no way to confirm it.
When did this happen?
I still have the order from the judge in my hand. This happened yesterday.
But that order
they
does
got
not,
the
that order does not prevent the council from
No.
issuing a license, correct?
No.
And you could have sought that
But-
relief before the court.
We attempted to, the actual hearing for the restraining order is a temporary one, is actually tomorrow morning.
But the fact of it is, you could have suggested to the court that they restrain the town from issuing a license. That was not done. So as we speak tonight, that order does not exist whereby the court said the council cannot issue the license. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Right.
That's why we're just here to ask.
That doesn't mean that by court order, that license can be either suspended or held in abeyance after tonight.
You are correct.
All right, so the relief you're seeking still can be addressed in the Superior Court tomorrow morning.
It could be, yes.
All right, so what I'm getting to the council is that there's nothing before you that would prevent you from issuing the license. If you don't want to issue the license, you have to put on the record the reasons why you don't want to issue the license. But my suggestion is the litigation issue or any restraining orders have absolutely no effect on your decision tonight. because he still can get the relief that he's seeking tomorrow.
Angelo?
I just got one question. If this individual's up for a license, I mean, I don't know what transpired till I just heard you say it. But if they don't have the proper parking and anything from the building official or fire, how can we give them a license if they don't even have the
Again,
CO?
that's an allegation that's been made by this attorney, but there's nothing in here that would indicate anyone from the town is
But
objecting.
is it all approved by the fire and police
Yes.
and the building official's office?
Excuse me, hold on.
It's pending police and fire.
Where's it say pending?
Go one page over.
Can you explain that? Because you went through pretty quick.
Yes, there's currently 8,200 square feet in the building and as a whole. There's 8 units that occupy 1,000 square feet. There's 29 parking spots in the area itself. Those parking spots are easily eaten up by the other uses. And so for a new use to come in, being a food service use, there's 2 different types of analysis you can use. I believe one is 1 parking space per 90 square feet if it's a restaurant, and 1 parking space per 50 square feet if it's considered fast food.
So you represent Mutual Properties, who currently manages the space that Riccati's is currently in, but you're making that argument for the space that Mutual Properties does not own, where he's going?
Correct.
So you're attempting to allow him to abide by the original lease that you have at his current place and not allow him to move?
So let me ask you this, though.
That's it, correct?
That's the crux of
All
the
right.
situation.
So
yes.
I-
And then the equipment he's moving in,
Hold on.
we have
Wait a
a
minute.
UCC
Hold on.
lien on it.
Again,
Hold on.
that's, the point what I'm trying to get at is, unless there is something besides what Mr. Brennan has just represented that would allow you to deny his application, just make sure you put those reasons on the record.
I do have a question as far as this lease. Does this lease include taxes in that lease?
I believe it is a triple net lease.
So what I would ask at this point, and I ask this most of the time
Yeah.
here, are all parties paid up in taxes, is the question. Rose? Christine? Is Riccati's paid up in taxes, tangibles and property?
Intangibles, yes. They don't have the property.
Well, that's why I just asked if it's a triple net and they're
Triple net.
responsible
They're
for the
paying-
taxes.
They're paying the landlord, the landlord's paying the
Okay,
taxes.
so that's just, all right.
That's all up to date?
According to Rose, they're all paid up.
Tangible is yes. Mutual properties, that's a different story, but we're not supposed to.
Mutual properties, that's not the issue
That's
before,
different.
right.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
That's
Thank
not-
you.
That's not the issue before the council.
Any other questions on that? Any public comment? Sir, if you'd like to speak, you can state your name and address for the record.
My name is Ronald Oakes. I'm the proprietor of Riccati's. There's 2 sides to every story. So when you say litigation, I mean, I had no heat, no hot, no air conditioner for 3 years in there. I have 150 pictures, 200 pictures, health code violations of the building. So there's 2 sides to every story. And he just given his.
Yep, that's understandable, and that's your business, that's your matter.
This town council does not have the jurisdiction
what I'm saying.
to render an opinion as it relates to both your charges or their charges.
Thank you. Any other comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I'm
Aye.
opposed, I'm opposed.
You're opposed to all the licenses?
No, I'm opposed to this one regarding the whole court.
Well, why don't we do it this way? You've got more licenses on there, so why don't you separate out
Yeah.
Riccati's?
I'll make a motion to, do I eliminate them all
Well, why don't
except
you
for
do this?
Riccati's?
You're gonna pass all the licenses with the exception of Riccati's.
Okay.
And then you're gonna do a
Make-
separate.
I'm-
Can you
separate-
take, wait a minute, Angela, take 2 out, please?
Yeah.
Take Scott Noon's, clean and vinyl siding, and that one out.
I make a motion to
And you guys.
approve all licenses except for Scott Noon's and Riccati's.
No, don't do it that way. The way, you're going to omit Scott Noon's and you're going to omit Riccati's from this vote, and then they're gonna have separate votes.
All right, I omit, the licenses
Clean
on
vinyl siding.
Noon's is vinyl siding and, Riccati's.
Right, on the remaining licenses, now you can do your voice vote,
Okay.
all right?
Do I have a second for
I'll
that?
second.
All in favor to remove those 2, and we'll vote on each one separate?
Aye.
Okay.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Right now, for all the ones that are gonna be, voted on, do your motion. Motion to accept those.
Motion to move all the licenses that we just voted on.
No, you
I don't know,
can't.
you're gonna be all confused over here.
Listen, just move, you're gonna move the licenses besides
Just say move the
Riccati's.
licenses,
Right.
move the resolution
Move the resolution.
as amended.
I'll second.
Second.
Whenever you got an attorney involved, it's always difficult.
All right, any other discussion on these licenses?
Very difficult following the law, folks.
Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Opposed?
Aye. Oop,
none.
no.
Guys, I got two ayes. Jay? Jason?
This is
Yes or no for the
original
license?
These are all the
Original
licenses.
set.
All the licenses besides Riccati's and Noon's.
Yes,
The rest of them.
yes.
Okay.
Angelo?
Yes.
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
All right.
John? And I vote yes.
All right, that takes care of
So
that.
those licenses that were just approved, Christ the King, St. Anthony's Church, St. Anthony's Church, St. Anthony's Church, Westcott Baking,
Deco Decor.
Deco Decor, Rhode Island Kona, Christopher Ring, and
Joie Furtado.
Mr. Furtado.
All right, so now you're gonna have a separate motion on Riccati's.
So we'll go on Riccati's, and then I'm gonna recuse myself from the last one.
Well, let's do Riccati's first.
Yes, what I mean.
Need a
So
motion.
I need a motion for Riccati's.
Motion to accept, what am I doing?
Move Riccati's.
Moving the license for Riccati's.
Motion, and second.
I second.
Okay.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? Any public discussion on Riccati's? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm opposed.
One opposed?
All right, the ayes.
Rest are ayes.
Okay. Now, do-
Riccati's is passed, and I'm recusing myself for the,
Move the resolutions on Noon's siding,
clean vinyl siding.
clean vinyl siding.
So motion, in a second.
Second.
Okay.
Discussion?
Seconded. Any discussion? Any public discussion? Hearing none.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it.
All right,
all right, let's move on.
that was difficult.
What a headache. Thank you. Correspondence?
Yeah, it was, very.
Resolved that the consent agenda having been posted, all matters being referred to proper departments and being disposed or awaiting recommendation, the same is hereby approved.
I'll move the resolution.
Second.
Moving second. Any discussion? Any public discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Fiscal year 2017-18 budget for the regional wastewater treatment facility. Resolved that the attached is adopted as the regional wastewater treatment facility budget for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2017 and ending June 30th, 2018 in the amount of $8,267,193 for plant and collection system operations, maintenance, and debt service.
I'll move the resolution.
Second the resolution.
Moving second. Any discussion? Any public discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Amplifier and theatrical license. Resolved that the town council hereby approves the following application. St. Anthony's Church, 10 St. Joseph Carrara, date June 10th and 11th, 2017, location 10 Sunset Avenue, time 4 p.m. to 11 p.m.
Move the resolution.
Second the resolution.
Moving second. Any discussion? Any public discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Plenty of good food this weekend in this town, that's all I got to say. No, it's gonna be beautiful this
Yeah,
weekend.
all week. There's no more rain up there to come down.
Additions and cancellations.
Before we move on, I just wanna make something clear on the licenses. The carnival was supposed to be up at the Civic Center,
That's on, I got that on the agenda.
that's actually been reapproved, and the carnival's been moved to River Point Park where the buses, are parked now. There'll be no buses there where the basketball courts are. So,
They
just wanna,
added a day as well, so it's starting Thursday instead of Friday.
so
correct?
Thursday to Sunday. All right, cancellation of taxes?
Resolved that the attached additions in the amount of $158.40 and cancellations in the amount of $729.24 presented to the tax assessor for approval of the town council in accordance with Article 25, Section 5 of the West Warwick Code of Ordinances is hereby approved. Original list is on file in the Office of the Tax Assessor.
Move the resolution.
Second the resolution.
Moved and second, any discussion? Any public discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Resolution authorizing the issuance of general obligation refunding bonds. Do you want me to read the whole thing?
No, I'll make a motion to waive the reading.
I'll second the motion.
Moved and seconded to waive the reading, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Move the
Opposed?
resolution.
I do have a request.
Wait,
Wait.
I need a second.
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 Discussion?
I did realize after this was provided to the clerk's office that there is a typo related to the actual resolution. It's actually for the 2009 Series A, not Series B, as indicated on your agenda attachment. So I need a
Amendment.
to the third line of the resolution.
John, does that exist anywhere else in the resolution?
I do not believe so.
So you just do a oral amendment to line 3, omitting capital letter B. and
Mike was
replacing
off, okay.
Capital letter A.
Have a motion?
Motion to
Amend from letter B to letter A.
09B dated 2009 to A.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That's been amended. Now, John, you want to give a little more?
Just wanted to provide the council with some information related to why this refunding is being requested. There are two series, 2007 and 2009A, as we just discussed. 2007 has to do with the road bond issuance that was done back in 2007, and the 2009 had to do with the station fire litigation at the time, the settlement. Both of those two, we have an opportunity to do a refinancing or refunding, which could potentially save anywhere from $400,000 to $450,000 over the term of the remaining life of the bonds. This does not extend the date that they will be retired.
What's the remaining life on the bonds?
I believe it is 11 years. So it's an opportunity to
So it's
save
a $40,000 savings a year.
approximately. So it's definitely something that that we're looking for the council's approval on, and we're going to continue to look at any of our other debt because of the way the rates are right now. To try to see if there's other opportunities to save on the interest.
And I just want to say, I know continually, this past year, I've been signing a lot of paperwork for bond renewals and interest rates. And I will say, John and his department continues finding us better rates and dropping the percentage of interest. So in the long run, he's been saving us a lot of money each year. I know just with the wind turbines, we had a very nice 3%.
2%.
2%.
2% bond
Bond rating.
anticipation note.
Versus, the 4, 5, 6%. And we're talking, $6 to $9 million, $6 million each turbine.
Correct.
Look at it that way as the money we're saving over the 20 years.
Absolutely. And I do have to say, thank you for mentioning that, but I do have to give credit to Adam Cray over at First Southwest, who was constantly keeping an eye on these for us and bringing things to my attention and Fred's attention when Fred was here. And this recent one, obviously, I discussed with Mock, so they are keeping a mindful eye on the rates to see any opportunities. And we're also trying to time the issuance of the permanent financing for the wind turbines as well, to take advantage of the rates that are currently exist, while taking advantage of the 2% interest rate that Webster offered to us for those bands.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Any public comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Ordinance number 2017-13, second reading, an ordinance amending Chapter 4, Animals and Fowl, Article 2, Animal Control, and Chapter 12.5, Parks and Recreation, Section 12.5-2 of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of West Warwick.
Move the ordinance.
I'll second.
Move the ordinance, discussion. John?
Well, this is just, to be in line with the state. These were changes that had to be made, that the solicitor made. There's nothing new here.
You just hate animals.
I was gonna say the animal councilman.
This had nothing to do with me.
But these ordinances don't
When
even have
animal things come up, they
sponsors.
just
No,
contact us.
this was not me. This was Al did it to be in line with the state.
Dave, how come how come they don't have any sponsors on them anymore?
They did last time, I don't know.
All right, but they should be,
There was no
So
sponsor
you know
on this.
who's
There was no
sponsored.
sponsor
There was
on
no
this one the
sponsor.
very
all right,
first time.
but there's no sponsors on any other
Right.
one either.
Well, there's one above it says me, but There should have been sponsors. The second one, everyone has a sponsor but the next two.
But these are just amendments to language to be in line with the state, as read to us by Solicitor DeFiore at the last meeting.
Any other discussion? Any public discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote. Jason?
Yes.
Angelo?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Ordinance number 2017-16, second reading, as amended, an ordinance amending section 16-5, special exemptions of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of West Warwick.
Move the ordinance.
Second.
Moving second, discussion.
Recuse myself.
Councilman Messier has recused himself on this matter. Again, this is just about the Arctic Playhouse. We had this discussion last meeting. Does anybody have any concerns? Any public comment? Hearing none, roll call vote. Jason?
Yes.
Angelo?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Ordinance number 2017-17, first reading, sponsored by Council President Goslin, an ordinance authorizing the Town of West Warwick to finance the acquisition, construction, equipping, and installation of energy efficiency improvements in municipal facilities and all attendant expenses, including but not limited to engineering costs, and approving the financing thereof through the issuance of general obligation bonds and/or notes in an amount not to exceed $640,000.
I'll move the ordinance.
I'll second.
Moving second, discussion. John?
This is seeking approval for financing through the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank. If you recall, we had some efficiency measures that we did as round one as part of the state initiative to actually have buildings become more efficient, as well as renewable energy, which is what we had done with one of the wind turbines. This round, or the second round application, we're looking to actually seek the financing or the approval of the council for financing through the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank for improvements within Town Hall related to lighting and heating, potentially even a switch over to natural gas versus the current oil that we're using. In addition to that, it includes improvements to the fire stations, each of the individual fire stations. Same thing, lighting improvements, and in some cases, a switch over to natural gas or existing boilers being replaced to be more efficient. All those efficiency measures will help us, although we're 100% green with renewable energy from the wind turbines. That will create a surplus of production of those turbines that ultimately can be potentially sold on the market. So,
Did you have an analysis on, we're gonna spend up to $640,000. We're getting free electricity.
correct.
It's costing us not a dime. But yet, we're putting money into lighting. I mean, you could put spotlights there for all we care because it's
Well,
for free.
Angelo,
the
you
more-
gotta look at it this
Yeah,
way.
I know. What we
The
save,
credits, no matter what, even though we're getting it free, if we can get further credits, that gives us revenue back.
I understand that, but how many credits are we gonna get back to invest this kind of money?
Something-
Because that's what we should have in front of us.
Right.
An analysis, if it's gonna cost us more money to be efficient, or, I mean, if it's gonna take 100 years to make up for that 640,000, it's not worth it.
Understood. I can tell you, I do apologize, I don't actually have the document in front of me right now, but I can tell you that as part of the application to the infrastructure bank, we do have to provide, and there is a schedule that's prepared to show the repayment period, and it also shows incentives and rebates that we actually receive to get it down to the
I mean, I'm all for
640,000.
saving money, but I'm not
It's-
gonna chase money that we're
On
never
an
gonna
average,
see.
on an average, you're looking at about a 15-year payback period, where you'd have savings over a 15-year period of time. And when those, with us, what'll happen is that savings will be credits or consumption that we will not, or that the buildings will not actually consume, which ultimately will be credits that will be available to sell on the open market. So it's, although we're not paying for electricity, we have the opportunity to take those credits and sell them in the market, which will lead to revenue, which will ultimately help to pay down the debt service on the wind turbines. So that's basically the way the savings would be achieved. We would save on the debt service.
I'm all for savings, but, I mean, if we're chasing, you know, a penny to cost us $1,
Understood.
I'm not for that.
I'd be happy, this is the first reading, I'd be happy
Yeah,
to provide the
I would
council
like that, I would
with the
like that in
schedule.
front of me, it's the first
Absolutely.
reading, I have no problem with it, but I just wanna see it in black and white, what we're
Absolutely.
gonna save.
I will have the
Thank you.
document for the next meeting for the second reading.
John, as far as if we're getting, everything's free right now,
Mhm.
are we getting credits now?
Yes. We currently, what shows on the electric bills is the consumption for the month, and then the credits for what's actually being produced by the wind turbines.
And those credits right now, are they being used, or are they being stored?
Actually, they're accumulating in some cases because during certain times of the year, you might be using less electricity than other times, so the production of the wind turbines may be at a higher rate right now than what we're consuming going into the summer months. You would expect we're gonna use more electricity. So it does eventually catch up, but right now, we actually have significant credits on all of the accounts
So
that carry over month to month.
What I got to spend a couple hours there this week with the 8th grade Daring Middle School Orange team that me and Mr. Grover, we set up this field trip. We met Mark DiPasquale, and he had his employees out there doing educational pieces for the students. Right now, the wind turbines are producing 20% over, but come July and August, that's when, you know, wind slows down a little bit, and the production at that time. So the credits will be sitting there, but again, come July and August, those are our two lowest peaks. So, well, valleys actually. So at that point, August to August will be one full year, so we'll have more information on what we actually made this year in credits and in revenue, and what we saved in electricity or debt service versus the cost of the turbines. So, I mean, cost of electric. So what John has is in 2015, he can compare all electric bills or to 2016 at the wind turbines from August to August, and then he could take the debt service and what our actual cost was, tell us what the savings is, and plus any credits that we have. So we'll get all that information probably September-ish, October.
And at that point too, we'll know what the permanent
And
financing.
I will suggest that anybody here on the council who's not visited the wind turbines, to please do. I mean, it's amazing up there. I've got to see them from the highway, but the other day was the first time that I actually had physical time to go out there, and I spent 2 hours. And, you know, I set up the kids, I gave them a bunch of questions to ask the employees, and one of the things I told them was ask them how much it cost the town of West Warwick. And when the student asked that and they heard 18 million, all the kids were like, oh my God, $18 million. And, but they were, in the end, there was teachers that, actually I think 60 or 80% of the teachers that were there were also taxpayers. So they got to see the turbines as a teacher, as a taxpayer, and they got to understand the savings over the next 20 years. And they understood that the town of West Warwick now has an electric rate for the next 20 years. And we already can plan what that's gonna be. So.
And guess who's paying the rest? That's the downside.
Can I ask you another question, Josh?
All the consumer, all the
credit-wise,
customers.
Say we just come up with a number. Say we have, say, $2,000 in credits for the year. Can we build on that credit over a certain amount of time? Does that cap out?
Quarterly?
They do a reconciliation quarterly. I believe it might be quarterly, but if not, definitely on an annual basis. And at that point in time, when they look at the account, and in this case here, it'll be from August to August, they'll see what credits we have on the account, and then we can have conversations with National Grid to settle up the fact that we have the credits. Now, whether we carry them over or we possibly sell them to the grid or sell them to another municipal agency, when I say sell, it's really going to be they'll contribute to the debt service, which ultimately will lead to savings for the town. But we have to see at the end of that year where we stand with the credits, because like you know, the council president explained, there are going to be some peaks and valleys to it all. But based on the fact that they're overproducing now at 20%, I would expect that at the end we will have.
Sorry, yeah, it would go to debt service.
Okay.
I think the councilman was wondering whether or not there would be cash to go to the general fund, but not to the
No,
debt service.
basically the way we set up the wind turbines and the efficiency measures that we're doing, we actually set up as a separate fund outside of the general fund, and it's going to be an internal service fund is what we refer to it in, in the finance world. But basically, it's going to self-support itself.
Okay.
Similar to, the Gavin Enterprise Fund, like we heard earlier with the Civic Center. But the goal here is, with the Internal Service Fund, is that the general fund will contribute and the school department and wastewater will contribute to that Internal Service Fund for its portion of the debt service and the costs associated. But that, combined with any revenues that may be generated by the turbines, will stay within that fund. So it would be pretty much self-supporting itself. and it would minimize the impact to the general fund. It wouldn't be something, it wouldn't be a general fund stream of revenue of any sort. We would just be funding enough that's needed for the operation of the facility,
Okay.
or facilities, including insurance and
Yep.
debt service and whatnot.
All right, thanks, John.
Okay?
And again, if anybody wants to schedule to go up there, just let me know. We can reach out to Mark Di Pasquale. I know the kids were wanting to go up on the wind turbine because there's an elevator in there, but the fact that there was 83 kids there and couldn't get all day to do that. But individuals, if you as a council member wants to go and schedule that appointment, I know if you want, I mean, my daughter was there the other day, but Jay, I think your kids would really get a kick out of it. Your son would too. Well, I don't know about that, but
That's not for me.
Put you in a bucket. You want a
No,
bucket?
that's all right.
you're
They
in an
told me.
elevator. Let me tell you
Hey,
this.
I'll
You're in
take
an
your word
elevator
for it.
this,
Yeah.
this big.
They say
this
get
wide.
in. I said, not me.
Not me.
You went, oh, you didn't go up?
No.
Tucker did it.
Yeah, Councilman Tucker,
Yeah, well,
former
I mean-
Councilman Tucker
How
did.
far do you
Said
go
it
up
was
all the way up to the?
Quite the
250.
experience. Took,
250 feet high.
yeah, it took, I think he said he took
Takes a little
15 to
time.
20 minutes to actually
Yeah,
go, because it
forget
goes
that.
very slow. It's very, very slow.
No,
Brian
thank you.
decided
Yeah,
not to
but-
No,
rerun.
thank you.
Yeah, but it's like, you can't see anything when you're in there, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
When
yeah.
you-
Well, actually, at the top, there's a hatch.
Yeah, but when
where
you're
you can
going up for
actually-
20 minutes, it's just
Oh, yeah,
like.
you're just looking at the
You're just
person,
looking at 4 walls.
well, and the operator who's directly in front of you. But there is a hatch at the top that if anyone's willing to go up,
I'm afraid of height.
you can actually.
All right. Any other comment? Any public comment? You just have to come up to the mic and state your name and.
Just a quick question. Anna Golderisi, Carpenter Court. Will these wind turbines, I know it's not really the total subject, will they ever benefit homeowners per se,
Not
electric-wise?
these, the only way it'll benefit homeowners of West Warwick is through our reduction in energy costs for the town, which hopefully will help keep taxes reduced.
So there's no way to pass it on to the homeowners, huh?
The customer in West Warwick will be paying a higher rate for our savings.
Well, it depends on National Grid. National Grid could raise the rates based upon the more
Great!
just like water. If we,
Okay, thank you.
any other comment? Hearing none, roll call vote. Jason?
Yes.
Angela?
Yeah.
Jay?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Resignation from the Board of Tenant Affairs. Resolved that the Town Council hereby acknowledges the resignation from Lori Ruggieri of the Board of Tenant Affairs for the Town of West Warwick.
I'll move the resolution.
Second.
Moving second, discussion.
Lori's a go-getter. She's gonna have health problems, I guess, and she just can't do it. But I would like to know personally how Lori is. I'd like to send a nice letter of.
If you could send a letter of thank you. Any other comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Ayes
I
have it.
know I voted against her.
Appointment to the Pawtucket River Authority. Resolved that the Town Council hereby appoints the following individual to serve as a Pawtucket River Authority Board member for the Town of West Warwick with a term to expire June 30th, 2020.
I'll move the resolution.
Second resolution.
Moving second, discussion.
This is just a reappointment.
Somebody want to move?
He's already on there. I'll move the name of Stephen Britson,
Second.
if that's spelled correctly.
Well, he filled it out. I hope it's spelled correct.
Well, unless I mispronounce it.
Nah, Britson's right. Moving second, any discussion? Again, it's a reappointment. Any public discussion? Is Stephen here tonight? No. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Discussion action. 1, agreement for tax stabilization for property development in Arctic, sponsored by Town Council.
Move the resolution.
It's actually discussion action, there's no resolution. So, again, a couple weeks ago, I received about a week and a half ago, I received an email from Melissa at DDM Properties discussing the agreement that we agreed upon about a month ago. There's been some issues with the actual post office title, so they're looking at trying to come back to the board and going to try to get two properties to be named at a later date. So I had spoke to Mark about this briefly, and I just told him I'd let the council know that this is something that's gonna be coming before the board of the Arctic Redevelopment Committee, which is next Monday, Mark?
It's probably gonna be next Tuesday.
Tuesday?
Yeah.
So I just wanted you to make sure you got a chance to read this. It may come before us once again if they approve it. Any questions on that? Any public comment on that? All right.
Stop sign on Pulaski, Councilman Lichardi?
Yes, I know, I brought this up at the last meeting under public comment, but I think it's time we put some stop signs on Pulaski Street. I know, Councilman Messer and myself have talked about this. I've talked about this for about 6 months. I understand that, you know, obviously there's speeding there, and I realize that the stop signs are not the end all to speeding, but given the situation, we have the daycare right there. I think it's a safety issue at this point. Residents have reached out to me, both from Ward 4 and Ward 3. And I think that's the cheapest solution at this point. I personally, and I think people would agree that shadow strips are not the way to go. We've had an officer there at different times. They can't be there all the time. We can't expect that. And again, the stop signs are the cheapest way out. I think is more positive than negative. And if for some reason it turns to be more negative than positive, we just remove them.
Can we clarify, I mean, I know where they're at, if you want to clarify for them exactly where they would be located.
We're looking at one on, if you're coming up from West Warwick, going into Coventry, on the right-hand side, right before Patuxent Terrace. And if you're coming from Coventry into West Warwick, on the right-hand side, right before Harley Street, which would give you a four-way, basically, because there's one coming out of Harley Street onto Pulaski and one coming onto Pulaski from Patuxent Terrace. So, and I also think, you know, with the daycare, I think they need to be, the people that bring their kids there need to be mentioned too, that they need to look before they come out. Because that's part of the issue as well. I think it needs to be a collaborative effort.
I do agree with Major Knott as far as you can't put stop signs in every single spot to stop speeding. In this particular instance, I think, I mean, to me, I think it's like one of the exceptions, and I could be wrong, but I think me and Jay seem to agree on this one, so.
And again, I just want to clarify, this has to be done in ordinance fashion, so we would need that ordinance drawn up, put on the next agenda for 2 readings, and then 45 days after that. So again, this isn't something that's going to happen in July and it's up and done, so it does take time. Also, when you say cheapest, I agree, it is the cheapest. Just remember that every ordinance that we pass, there's a fee to document that ordinance into the Code of Ordinance booklet. How much is each ordinance?
I usually $300.
$300.
$2 to $3.
$200 to $300.
Depending
So
on the length.
just take that in consideration also. And I agree. I mean, I think personally, Coit Ave is oversigned,
Yes.
and Pulaski Street is undersigned. So, you know,
I mean,
we
if it's gonna slow down
Yeah.
the cars, which I know they do firsthand, and I mean, $300 is nothing compared to
No,
a kid, God forbid, getting hit by a car, or, you know, at least they're gonna slow down if anything.
Well, and the other thing too is they may blow through it, and hopefully we have somebody monitoring that.
Then we
As
get
far
our
as people
$300
leaving,
back.
as far as people leaving that facility, we would probably need somebody to be sitting around watching that also. I mean, just like anybody leaving any facility, they could pull out, I mean, they pull out of side streets
No,
and
I
whatever
know.
else.
I'm just
Take
thinking.
no consideration. I know down at St. Joe's every
Could we
morning,
have,
the way they're
Major
pulling out
Knott, could
of
you
there.
come up and add some insight to this? I know this came up to the traffic commission, so I'd like to have. You were waiting patiently. You're hoping you.
That would be a broken record. So again, as I mentioned before, as far as the traffic safety committee goes, I mean, we take our job seriously. We have a variety of expertise on there. So when things come up, we do take the time to evaluate them and look. In regards to stop signs, obviously we kind of go by the Federal Highway Administration's guidelines, their traffic manual, and it clearly states in there that stop signs should not be used as speed control. And that pretty much leaves awareness and enforcement. And, you know, we can put up plenty of warning signs and put police cars out there and enforcement. We can, for lack of a better
Mark, I
phrase,
just-
crush people.
I
So-
just don't understand, and I know they're not your guidelines, but I don't understand how the federal guidelines can say that does not slow down
It
traffic.
doesn't say it doesn't slow down. They don't recommend it as a use to slow
Well,
down.
you know,
People need to learn and slow down.
Well, I mean, they're
or
not
be in
going to,
fear
I
of a
mean, you
ticket.
know, you can lead a horse to water, but you know, you're not gonna let him, force him to drink it. But I mean, I think, and when you put up a stop sign, people are more cautious. They might, when they first see it, they're gonna blow through it a few times. I mean, the one I had put up on Arctic Hill, I think that was the worst one I ever had done. And you know, and how many times
moved.
I had it put on, and how many times I go, oh God, there's a stop sign, I already passed it.
So it's gonna shift from a speeding issue to people are speeding through the stop sign issue. So,
Well,
that's-
I don't
mean,
think,
but
I just
that's-
want to clarify, I don't think this is being used as a speeding issue. I think it's going to be used more of a safety concern and a caution to slow people down, to let them know there's a daycare there.
Right.
So I don't think we're trying to do it to stop traffic from doing 35 miles an hour there.
So
We're
we-
stopping it to make sure they're not going by the daycare doing 35 miles an hour.
So when we look at guidelines for stop signs, for example, they're more designed for intersections that have some type of maybe design flaw or obstruction, visibility issue, that it's safer for people to stop so they can take the time to view, not necessarily
Yeah.
as a slow down measure, which
Yeah.
ultimately it is,
Right.
no matter how you
You're right.
say it.
Like the one in front
And
of, like the one at Boneheads, I feel like that stop sign causes more problems than before there was a
State
stop
did
sign.
that without us even knowing.
That was the state. They
No,
put
I
that
know,
up
I'm just saying, but
overnight.
that, I think that causes more, I mean, you would know more, does that
Right.
causes
But
more
what-
problems
What
than people?
made that pass was the study that they did for the traffic to and from the post office
There was
and
some
from the
severe
seniors
accidents.
from 62 Robert Street to the senior center is what
Gotcha.
Well,
got
again, I think
the
the
state
seniors are
approval.
just as important as the children, and the children are just as important as the seniors. So
exactly.
I think the stop sign should go there.
Right,
and
and as I
we'll be
mentioned, I mean, we're gonna give you our recommendation, you
Yep.
can take it or leave it. You're
Why-
the-
I
you're
guess
the
we
ordinance
left it.
passers, and
We left
that's
it.
fine with us.
Major,
that's not a
just so
loss.
we're on this, real quick, on the corner of Betez and Phoenix Ave,
Oh.
there was a stop sign there years ago, and it disappeared. I don't know why or when, but recently there's been cars just coming up Betez going on to Phoenix.
2 accidents.
There's been one accident. Again, can we just take a look at Betez Street? Coming out of Betez should be a stop sign there.
So you're saying there was one, so there's
There
hopefully
was,
an
but-
ordinance? I
I
mean,
mean,
if it's a
that's what-
replacement of a sign,
I know
That
back in
should
the
be-
day, sometimes signs were
just
put
run
up,
up.
just run
Right,
up.
without any record of it.
I just don't know where that one went.
because obviously the law is that at intersecting streets,
So if you wanna take a look at that,
so Betez at.
Betez and Phoenix.
Sure.
So coming up Betez onto Phoenix Avenue, right at that corner.
Take care of that.
All right, any other discussion
you.
on this?
Thank you.
All right, so
Thank
Jay,
you.
you need that ordinance, J and J, you need that ordinance brought up.
J&J ordinances.
Who writes that one? Is that one Al?
That would be Al, yes.
So just send Al an email telling him you'd like an ordinance for a stop sign on Pulaski Street. Next one, St. Joseph Church Carnival. I kinda went over this earlier.
I had this put on the agenda. Father called me this morning, there was just a little mix-up with the licenses. The father has a food vending license, and through all the ruckus that, Father, again, I apologize personally, from what you went through,
Yeah, it
from
was a mess.
one spot to another, I mean, this was just one big mess right from the beginning, and,
It wasn't a carnival, it was a circus.
Yeah.
right, it was. It was a big circus, you know.
Well, just to clarify, we were told the seniors were not gonna be there, and
At the high
there'd
school,
be
it was originally
plenty
gonna
of
be on
parking
Factory
for the
Street.
high school,
Yeah.
and that was not the case. They're actually gonna be every senior there because they're gonna be bussed into the Veterans Memorial, so there would have been a big parking issue up there. But with Ken Townsend's help, Lori Swanson, and group, and Steve Lawton, they all met at 2 o'clock. I know I got invited, but I just couldn't get there. They all came up with a solution to go down to River Point, which actually I think is a better solution.
Well, they end up getting an extra day out of it, so
Yeah.
in the long run, it ends up helping. They got the extra Thursday, whereas
Cut me off one more time, I'll hit you with this mallet. I said I was gonna use it, I'm gonna use it on somebody. And the father, I know he reached out to the carnival, met down there, and like you said, he got an extra day out of it. So again, I think it's a great location. The kids are already talking about it. I know I have a group of 6 or 7 who says I'm taking them down there Friday and Saturday, so I can't wait for this. And we're gonna have an interesting week of busyness around here. We have St. Anthony's Feast, St. Joseph's Carnival. You got Brian St. Germain motorcycle run. You got the Jason Pisano Fish and Pier opening up on Saturday at noon, and we have West Warwick seniors are graduating Friday night. So it's definitely a hectic night. And I know I missed something, but and Eco Depot going on behind the high school, because that was something else that was going on up there that everybody didn't realize. But again, it's going to be a very busy weekend here in West Warwick.
Did you notice how the father put the word in, it's gonna be in the 80s?
A lot of Hail Marys.
Hey, you don't want 80s at graduation.
No. So again, it's moved down to River Point Park. It's where the buses are, and there's plenty of parking and plenty of lighting. So
Come on down, Goslin's buying the Doughboys and beer.
Is there gonna be beer there?
I don't know.
You just want donuts.
I don't need no donuts, Pete.
Guy should have
Okay.
came on the 8th grade
Derek.
field trip with me the other day. I bought 8 or 9 dozen of Valley's donuts for those kids, and they had a lot of fun with them donuts.
Yeah, David ate half of them.
Reports, town manager's report.
So I just wanted to mention to the council 2 pieces of pending legislation before the state. One is called the Small Cell Siting Act, which regulates these smaller cell repeaters in the state of Rhode Island. The cell carriers are trying to improve from 4G to 5G networks. And currently, under the regulations, these small cell repeaters locating on local telephone poles and local buildings and structures are open to negotiation with local communities if they want to locate in those communities for annual leases. The market rates of those leases are anywhere between $750 to $2,500 a year. This legislation is being proposed before the General Assembly to maximize the lease for local communities to $50 a year. Our streetlight provider, Prism, has written a letter. I think Council President may have received a copy of this letter. I'm not really sure.
I think I sent it out to everybody.
Did you? Yeah, to Speaker Mattiello, stating
Actually, John sent it out to everybody.
to local opposition to that, and I'm suggesting perhaps the next council meeting we have a resolution from the council also objecting to this legislation. I'm not so sure how successful we'll be, but the fact of the matter is that the legislation is favorable to the cell providers, but not to the local communities who would be housing these antennas. And as part of that correspondence, Prism noted that West Warwick has 120 poles that these could be located on, and maximum revenue at the $1,500 per year is potentially $180,000, and the minimum revenue at negotiated would be $90,000, but this legislation would restrict us to $6,000 in total revenue. So it's basically taking revenue or potential revenue away from, it's not just West Warwick, but all local communities. The other thing I wanted to mention too is the Speaker's car tax reduction legislation, which we're dealing with. We met internally the other day, John Semino and Christine and I, to discuss the car tax bills. And really, we're waiting to see what the timing of that legislation is, if it passes, in what form. And at that point, we're going to be looking at options for issuing our car tax bills. Right now, Rose would be getting ready to print and send those bills out late June, early July. I've suggested, and we all agree, that we should hold off as long as we can in case there is some change to the car tax, in which case we would have to go into
Want to water that dog, Bobby?
we would have to come up with some sort of a solution with regard to the reduction in the bills. There are two aspects to that legislation. One is a reduction in the value of 5%, and the other that affects West Warwick at this time is the shortening of the time for the car tax, the cars to drop off of the automobile vehicle roll. I think right now it's 25 years, and they're reducing that to 15 years, so we would lose a lump sum of vehicles that would be no longer taxable, as well as the reduction from 100% to 95%. So that's something we're looking at, we're coping with, and I thought I would make the council aware of that.
Any questions for Mark? Thank you, Mark.
Financial update?
Hello again. At previous meetings, I had mentioned that I was going to start to provide the council with a monthly update of the financial status of the town, including cash balances, investment balances, as well as how revenues and expenses are running. It was originally planned before I took my medical leave. I do apologize again that you haven't actually received the report, but I had to give my first report for through the month of May. And what I'll do is I will plan for the second meeting of each month to provide you with the information for the previous month, or through the previous month. So at this point, as of May 31st, the cash and investment balance was approximately $9.8 million. That is cash investments, so we are actually investing as much as we can, giving the cash flow needs. The rates unfortunately are low, but we are actually doing some investing. As far as revenues go, the biggest source of revenue, as the council knows and the public knows, is our tax collections. And at the current, as of May 31st, we actually collected 96.32% of what actually was billed. That number compares to the previous year. It's pretty close in line with the previous year's collections. We were at 9.7 around the same period of time. However, the penalty or the interest that we're actually collecting this year is approximately $30,000 higher than last year. So we do have some more accounts that are going delinquent, so therefore we are actually collecting more on the interest side. At this point in time, I do feel confident that we are going to be pretty close to what we actually had budgeted in terms of the percentage of collections. We had, for the 17 budget, we had planned for 97% collection rate on the current year taxes. And as I mentioned, we're at a little over 96% right now with a month to go, as well as the July and August collections that we can accrue back. In terms of the other revenues, state aid for the town actually is running $200,000 more than what was budgeted. That's a result of the change to the state's budget. So we actually are expecting $200,000 more than what we had planned for. And the school aid for the school department is expected to be, the full amount by the end of June. The timing of that, sometimes it's the last week of June, beginning of July. But overall, the departmental revenues are expected to be within budget. And at the current, as of May, we were at 95% collected on total revenues, or actually what we had actually recorded as of May 31st. So with a month to go, that's a pretty good number to be at, 95%. On the expense side, through May, we actually have expensed 87% of the budget. The reason why that number is 87 versus the 95 that you see on the revenue side, the biggest portion of that is the pension contribution, which we made the first week of June. So we did actually make the fourth quarter pension contribution of approximately $1.7 million on the town side. So I'm happy to say that 100% of the pension contribution as budgeted has been made for the fiscal year. And that will be reflected within the audited financial statements. As far as the departments, for the most part, most of the departments are running within budget, thankfully. So that's a good thing. What's that?
Any of them not?
There are the general government we're having, which is not really a department, but it's a department within the budget. We do have a couple of areas there of concern in terms of severance pay, workers' compensation, and insurance that actually ran over what we had anticipated. So the hope would be that those shortfalls would be made up by the extra revenue that we received from the state that I mentioned earlier, the extra $200,000. In addition to that, we did have approximately $130,000 of unexpected repairs that we had to make to a fire apparatus. If you recall, there was some frame damage that we found out about, I want to say about 3 or 4 months ago. That's $130,000 that we did not expect this year. Mm-hmm. And, the fire department has been trying to do what they can on the fleet maintenance to make up that difference, but realistically $130,000 is very difficult to make up. As far as our debt service payments, they have been made as they are due. We do have approximately $236,000 that will be paid by the end of this month, which again is well within budget. As far as the capital accounts, what we do now is we have a separate capital fund, so any amounts that are actually approved by the budget, we transfer and reserve those in a separate capital account so they can be used in the next fiscal year without having to worry about doing any type of accrual. So the capital has all been set aside, if not already expensed.
So I have a question for probably Mark, considering you spent some time in Warwick. And John, I read an interesting article that Warwick has moved their collection rate to 99%. If we moved our collection rate to 99%, that would cover a few $1 million, believe it or not.
But historically, we haven't been collecting at that rate.
Let me ask a question. Is Warwick collecting 98, 99%?
No, they are not. So that's an accounting gimmick, and at the end of the year, they will run a deficit.
That's what I kind of figured. Right. That's, you know, and again, people have asked me, why don't we go to 99%?
To put it to you frankly,
because we'll be short.
Every money, every dollar he collects out from a particular fiscal year, it's actually that fiscal year's money. So they could say we're collecting 100%, but it's taken us 20 years to do it for that particular fiscal year.
And you can never collect 100%.
So
99% is unreasonable, and when you look
that's why when you put your budget together, you're taking a certain percentage of collection and using that as your standard, not 100%.
Your automobile excise tax alone has not just West Warwick, statewide has issues of non-collectibles. You'll never get all of that money, so it's impossible to reach that.
That's
threshold.
what I was trying to figure out. I just read it. People questioned me on it, and I said, it's not
in our budget, we do have the current year collections, which we actually, in this last year, we reduced it from 97 to a little over 96%, because again, we're trying to be conservative. And then again, if we collect at a higher rate, all the more better we are in the end. However, we do also have a prior year collection number, approximately $2 million. When you look at taxes as a whole, in terms of all the fiscal years or all the tax bill years, we do actually, at some point, within a year and a half to 2 years, we do actually collect 99% of the total bills. But that's over a year and a half to 2 year period of time.
You're running a deficit.
So, you know, and that's one of the things especially with property tax being the biggest driver of it all, you have a lot of avenues to actually collect on those property taxes, whether it's sales tax or mortgage companies or whatnot. But to say within one fiscal year you're going to collect, 98, 99%, that, in my opinion, is stretching it. It's stretching it.
Just to dovetail off of what John said, and I know Rose has been working on this too, the town, at least in my experience, and I've only been here about 2.5 years, but has been much more diligent in collecting those back taxes, and they've taken, they've hired a new collection agent to do.
Correct. Rossi Law office.
And they're producing. And the tax sale, I think there wasn't a substantial tax sale for about 5 years before the last tax sale 2 years ago. So these are things that the town has been starting over again and doing and trying to recoup those revenues, which are extremely important. The other thing that John and I talked about was, closing the gap towards the end of the year, and we've been meeting pretty much daily. And I've asked John to look at the budget for departments that haven't expended their full budgets and start to scrutinize those purchases. So that if there are any non-essential purchases that are substantial, we're going to talk about those and potentially hold off on those for this year to see if we can save a little additional revenue in this year. So if someone has a surplus in a line item and they want to buy a piece of furniture that isn't necessary, we're not going to allow that to happen.
With that being said, I know, Rose, you've been sending me a lot of information I've been asking for. Now the payment plans, I know we've had some residential business properties, not just, I'm talking single family homes that were on that list of payment plans to prevent them from going to tax sale or whatever. Who authorizes those
The payment plans that's a role that the collector has. The collector has that
and
authority.
from there, we continue making sure that the individuals are on that plan, they're making their payments.
Yes.
Thank you, Rose.
And we do.
For the record, single-family homes are on that list that you sent me, because it was asked to me that, do we do this for residents as we do for businesses?
We do.
And I want to make sure.
We do it just for sewer if they have a problem in just sewer.
Thank you.
Because again, it's to our benefit if we can work out a payment payment agreement versus having to go to a tax sale
Well, it
type
also
of
helps the
situation.
resident because they're not
And it
paying
helps the
legal
resident,
fees.
absolutely.
Well,
They're not paying the lawyer's fees, they're not paying any of that
I
for,
have to say it's not a huge, we don't have a.
no, 35 you sent me, 35 on the list.
to what point?
Actually, there's probably less than that, because when Lori went through it actually today and yesterday, I had to come up.
For the record.
Lori just went over that list that I sent you, and there are a few that are off that did it here. So there's probably less than 35
Okay,
than what you had, so
thank you.
you're welcome.
Jay?
At what point does a tax sale happen? Is it a certain amount? Is it a certain time not paid? How does it work?
18 months.
18 months.
Hmm?
So, and again, if it goes 18 months and you took no action, so if you didn't come to town hall and talk to town hall and say, hey, listen, I can pay $200 a month towards that, can we work out for my house from going from tax sale? That's, I just didn't know who approved it. I know we've had one or two larger accounts come to us as a council to agree or disagree upon, but I wanted to know who, I got a list of 35, and I know I didn't approve 35. And then when I was going through that list, there was a lot of single family, there was a lot of everything on there. And I said, wow, it was an eye opener to me, but it was also informational as far as the homeowner has the same right as a business to come in here and go downstairs and talk to Rose and her department and negotiate and try to help the house from going on tax sale. And
It's
again,
not-
it goes 18 months, and you know, some of those tax sales, I know when you sent us the tax sale list, I knew of an individual on that list, and I actually called them to give them a heads up because they were unaware that it was going on,
Yeah.
and they come to find out on a personal level something was going on that they didn't even know, like spouse and whatever. So, and again, if your mortgage company's you're not paying your mortgage isn't paying your taxes.
Gotcha.
So just remember, when you're not paying your mortgage for 18 months, it's not just the mortgage you're losing, the
So you
house you're
could-
losing, it goes up for tax.
So you could literally go 17 months without paying your taxes before we,
Yeah.
theoretically.
It's,
And then you can make, but then you can make one.
There's gonna be notices sent.
Plenty of notices, you get a pink letter in the mail every
we
month.
do, every quarter we send out delinquency notices.
But a notice. But so then, so if 17 months and you pay, then you have 17 more months. You could wait and not pay again without getting.
Yeah.
Pay with substantial interest.
You're paying interest.
I understand, but I'm just saying. So theoretically, you could pay it 17 months and then wait. Obviously, interest would build up. But you could go every 17 months before we could do anything.
Well, technically,
Legally, not technically.
all right, legally.
Okay,
Legally.
that's interesting.
If you wanna change that illegally, feel free.
No, I'm just curious.
I
I'm
just go
asking.
by
I'm
what
just
the law
inquiring.
says,
I want to
that's
get
all.
information. That's all.
Again, you know, it's not something that we want everybody to come in on a payment plan, but if there are people that have excruciating circumstances, I mean, if it's a constant problem, then it's almost like interest. I know if you're well behaved and pay all your taxes the 5 years and you have a bad quarter, they can waive the interest.
Just for a single family.
Single family, yes.
And you have to live there. If it's like a duplex or multi and they don't live there, we can't. We don't have anything for that yet.
Yeah.
So
It's something that we could.
we need to do something for that, for the future, for those people.
And it's luckily, and it's sad to say, for someone's mishap, the town benefits by people not paying their taxes.
Yeah, but
Because
again,
it was 18%,
I was
we
just gonna
changed
say.
that to
To
12
12.
because it was extortion. They
And-
could never catch up.
I know Angela and I think that was in 2006 or 2007.
When we first got in, we said, this is extortion. 18%, we gotta change it. Matter of fact, I think you were along with me when I wanted to drop it to 6 or 8%. But we looked at how much money we would lose,
You actually
and you're
gained-
looking at like $500,000 just going down a few percent points.
I think in this budget, there was like $700,000 or $800,000, and $600,000 or $800,000 in interest. Well, last year's budget,
Interest was like $500,000.
no, yeah, 600,000. I know it was last year, 1 year, but then when Angela and I first came on, it was very high, and when we cut it from 18 to 16, I mean 12.
12.
We had to look at where we're gonna get that revenue from, because interest is a source of revenue.
It is.
A big source.
$500,000.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Rose, thank you for all your information.
You're welcome.
I just wanted to, for whatever it's worth, just to mention that besides the payment plans, we do offer a lot of other options
No, I
now
know.
for people to actually for individuals, taxpayers to actually make the tax payments. For example, if someone gets on a payment plan, we can actually set them up by an ACH so that they don't actually have to worry about mailing in a check. So we've actually explored and expanded the options.
Sometimes these questions are asked to me at 11:30
Understood.
at night. I'm not gonna text either one of you at 10:30 at night to get those answers. Well, John, sometimes I
We've done it a few times, but
John,
if I
I
can
sent
answer,
you-
I will. But we
That's what we
have,
should do, call them directly, because they get paid, we don't.
my email's on
And
the website.
I got all your
I'd be more
private
than
numbers,
happy.
so that should be easy.
I don't go to bed early, so.
Oh, I know you, Rose.
Rose, I don't want Eddie asking me questions.
But we are trying to make it easier for the taxpayers by ACH payments, not just, coming in, physically bringing a check in and whatnot to try to make it easier for them, especially on the payment plans. This way they don't have to worry about it. They sign an agreement that at X day of the month, so much will come out of their account, out of their checking account. As long as the money's in the bank account, we can make good they can make good on the tax payment.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Board reports?
5?
I just wanted to address what's going on at Walgreens. I know if you've driven by Walgreens, you've noticed that the grass is growing extremely high at this point, probably over a foot, and that's not the norm for Walgreens. They're usually well groomed. I stopped in on Friday because I've received a number of phone calls and emails, and it was on Facebook. I stopped in on Friday, spoke to the manager at the store who is frustrated by the situation. They've had issues with their vendor, with the landscaper, and there was some corporate bureaucracy involved where it wasn't as simple as just getting another landscaper to come in and do the work. But she did reach out to the general manager, and they are moving along. They are going to hire another vendor, and it should be cleaned up by Thursday or Friday. So I thank people for their patience, because it really is a mess as you're driving down East Greenwich Ave onto Cohasset. It's quite the mess.
You know, John,
So-
they pulled the same thing at CVS with the snow removal at the bus stop. They always going into another vendor. You know what? That's not our problem.
Well,
They
that's
should
what
be
I said. You
fined.
need to rectify it, or
They
we'll
should be
cite you.
fined like any one of these citizens of the town to get fined, because here you go, you got a big corporation that means nothing to them, but yet, by the time they're done and they move the snow, the winter's over, the summer's over, the grass is all hay, so they should have the same procedure that we do
And
with a homeowner.
I agree with you. Actually, all of this was given to Shayna Prince, and I did tell them if it's not rectified, we will cite you, and that's not something they wanted. So I got emails back from the general manager saying that it would be rectified by this week, and if it's not, Shayna will be there.
Thank you. Anything else from 5?
Well, just a quick question. The manager, the interim manager, the house is on East Greenwich Avenue at the very bottom. At one point, Fred, and I know it's a mess, I
I
know.
blame the chief for that.
Fred at one point said that by spring, one of them was going to be leveled, apparently, and one of them was going to
Really?
be...
That's been going on for how many years?
One of them was going to be...
They're gonna be leveled 12 years ago.
Rebuilt. Do you know anything about this, if anything's happening there, or, because they're really an eyesore.
So those went to a receiver, and they were sold to a developer. And my understanding was they were gonna knock down the back building and rehab the front building.
Right.
I don't know what the status of that is currently, I can check into that.
Can you check in on that for me, please?
Yeah, but that was the plan, was to take the smaller building in the back down
Right.
and rehab that building. So I know it is under new ownership, there is a contractor who's going to be going in and rehabbing that property and turning it over to sell it and bring it back on the tax rolls. But I will check into that for you.
Which one is the one they owed us $1 million?
That- I
That's
think
the
it was
one.
that
That's
Then
the
how
one.
did they sell it? Where's our
The
money?
liens went with it.
The-
It's a
They didn't sell it,
They took it through a
the
receivership.
receiver took it.
So the liens came with it.
It was assigned to a receiver. The liens were actually forgiven by the town.
We forgave $1 million in fines?
Well, it's beyond the value of the property. I mean, it was, yeah, it was like,
We
that's,
went by what our ordinance and
yeah,
resolutions
no,
were.
right, but,
But common sense.
So we
correct.
got zilch.
no, well, you got the payment of the back taxes, and you got a property, hopefully, that gets rehabilitated and put back on the tax rolls. That's what you got.
So just to make it clear, and if I remember, I wish Councilman Tucker was actually here for this one, because I remember him bringing this before the council. Let's face it, nobody was gonna develop this property owing $1 million on it. It's one house lot. And I understand what you're saying, but I don't think we'd ever recoup it. I think the houses would have stayed there. I know when they one caught on fire, I know I gave the chief a little hell. There's firemen on site, let it burn down, and we'll clean it up later, because they would have done the town a lot of justice.
But in no way is the council president advocating arson.
I'm not. It wasn't, I wasn't advocating arson. It was on fire. You should just let it go. There's a time you just let things, it becomes practice at that point.
That's all I have.
But, thank you, John. 4?
I have three short items. Number one, as you all know, and hopefully you picked up a flyer outside the door regarding the fishing pier for Saturday, June 10th. A rain date is Saturday, June 11th. Please attend. I think we'd have a really good turnout. It's out there. A lot of work has gone into it. It's been a project that's been long awaited to complete. So, again, that Saturday we're supposed to have 80 degree weather, so it's going to be a nice day. Number 2, I'm not looking to stir the pot with this. I'm going to keep this in Ward 4, but social media. I just want to clear it up on record. We're live. If my constituents are looking to get a hold of me, as they've done, they can email me, my town email, and I will respond. I have for 7 months, whether it's going out to their house or by email or a phone call. And I think I'm relatively quick with that. Or they can call me at 827-8747 in area code 401, and I will respond to them in the same way. As far as social media, I think the entire council knows I'm not a huge fan. I'm not on it all the time.
I'm getting there.
I don't live on it. I never will. I do have a life outside of Facebook. So if I do happen to go on it, and I do happen to use it, I almost got sucked in. I drew back. It's not the way I want to operate. I think a few years ago we had a life without Facebook, and social media, and I understand it's a changing of the times, but I'm not going to get into all the drama. So if anybody has a question on Ward 4, please ask, and I will respond to one more thing. There's a lot to learn being on the council, and I think, I can speak for John and for Jay that we do rely a little bit on Dave and Angelo because they've been here for about a dozen years, and we've been here for 7 months. So they know the history as they're talking at every council meeting, going back and forth with what just tonight of things happened in 06 and 04, and that's something that we wouldn't know. And I don't think we're expected to know. So that's why a lot of the answers come from them. And maybe in the future that may be us, but for right now, for Ward 4, if you have a question for me, I'm more than happy to answer it. Just not on Facebook.
That's why I always give you the history lesson when we're up here.
And I appreciate it. I think it's a big learning curve. And the one more thing for Ward 4, I know Councilman D'Amico is taking care of Ward 5 as far as the street sweeping schedule and announcements, and he's passed the torch to me. Being in Ward 4, I'm going to put out that torch right now.
Oh no, it's coming to my ward.
I'm not. The schedule, when DPW wants to schedule the street sweeping and they're in Ward 4, things can come up all the time. If they're looking to be in one area on a Monday, things can come up no matter what it is, and they may change that. So if I'm putting that out as a middleman, then I'm going to be held accountable for that. And I think that should be done by DPW, posted somewhere where I'd like to put that out tonight, whether it's on the town website or...
I'm going to tell you, Jay, I don't want to cut you off, but Mr. Roach right there had one of the best ideas and utilizations is Code Red. And yes, not everybody's in that neighborhood, but again, we have a town Facebook, we have a DPW Facebook, and we have Code Red. I don't know why we're not utilizing.
We should be utilizing it.
And utilizing
Right.
all three of those to tell where the street sweepers are going to be. That they could just put a weekly. We're going to
Right.
be in this vicinity this week. That's all we need to hear.
Code Red can be done by area too. So if they're going to be in the Pulaski Street area, that's correct, right, Mark? You
Well,
can do
just
it in a specific, I mean, it doesn't have to be, but you can do it in that vicinity, so it doesn't have to be the whole town
And it's-
in Natick knowing that they're in, in Arctic today. but-
Well, it's also like the snowstorms. We got updates after every snowstorm or during snowstorms, how the
Regarding-
roads
should be
were.
the same as a
and all
parking
that.
ban.
It's, street sweeping should be the same
Yeah,
way.
I agree.
Whether it's given to Mark and Mark relays it to us, whether it's put on their website. If they put it on their website, I can relay that information, whatever they put on
Yeah,
their
correct.
website. And again, I agree with you, because if they change their mind and say, I'm going to Harley Street tomorrow, when they said they were going to New London, that's on them.
Yep.
You know, they.
I just think this should come from the source and not the middleman.
Yeah, but even if it's a general guide of, if they're gonna be in the Pulaski Street area at some point over the next 2 to 5 days, or, at least you have some kind of an idea, all right, this week I know I'm gonna keep my car out of the way.
Tom, you just have to come to the mic.
So can I, before that?
Yep.
Dave, do you?
By the time he gets up
Do
there.
you by any chance know, I know you're in Ward 4 right now as far as street sweeping, with 3 days to go during the week, do you relatively know what areas you're gonna be in?
It varies because of the trash pickup is.
Okay.
Every single road with trash gets in the road.
Right.
We work around that too. We may work one area, and it's trash, we may switch to the other side.
Okay.
Behind because of the weather.
Right, no, and I'm aware of that. And I think the public should be aware of that too. We can't control the rain, and that's been a lot of the comments that have come up, and,
No, if you put out a general area, weather permitting, we're gonna be in the Phoenix section on this date.
right.
I think that the main thing is people wanted the heads up because they want to move their cars.
Right, I understand that, but I'm just thinking of where that information should come from.
I agree with you.
No, I agree 100%, and again, I give Tom all the credit. He came up with it. He said, use Code Red. And I asked Fred, can we use Code Red? He said, absolutely. It's up to the department heads to buy into that and start utilizing it. Now, if they want to put it on their DPW Facebook page, they have Nicole Knott, who basically runs all the information on there. They're in there every morning. These
Right.
employees walk in
Right.
that office, they know where they're going to work. It doesn't take much, I'm sorry, Tom. It doesn't take much to put that out there and say where they're working. I mean, unfortunately, John was either calling down there every day or texting or whatever to get that information. Unfortunately, like you said, not all of us can do that every single day to get that information out there. I mean, if they want to send me a text and say we're going to be in my ward on such and such a date, I'll put it out there. I don't care about that, but at least I think you're right.
I just think
that
it
we
needs to
should
be
put it in other
consistent,
places.
yeah. So what are we deciding tonight?
I think it should go on Code Red.
I think it should go on all three.
Yeah,
Code Red,
exactly.
the Town of West Warwick Facebook, and the DPW Facebook. Why not?
Tom
Let's
Oates,
do it.
Colonial Way. Yeah, the Code Red, I know not everybody's on it, but one of our newest Eagle Scouts, young Mr. Knott, set us up with this Code Red. And of course, myself not being computer savvy, I had the circle wide. And all of a sudden, I started getting the notifications from the city of Pawtucket saying parking ban for this street to that street and this street to that street. No one on the street after midnight, just like it was a snowstorm for street sweeping. And it gave an extended what they planned to do for the week so people could get their sidewalks swept off into the gutter, cars off the street. So I've narrowed mine back down to just West Warwick area. But it was Pawtucket where I got the idea, and it was coming on every night, different neighborhoods, different sections. That's what the DPW in Pawtucket scheduled, so they told the people, cars off the street, parking ban. And there was a couple of times they did it 2 days in a row because they had weather issues, and it was extended for another day, and it was very, very informative and very easy.
Tom, I'll use Betez Street. Every time we go down to sweep that street, there's cars parked everywhere. And the person that used to call me all the time no longer lives there. But sure enough, we'd go up there, sweep it. We'd have to go back because cars were parked up and down. And it's just double the time, double the labor.
Yeah.
It's just
Doesn't
more
make
money.
sense.
It doesn't make sense. So
Just makes it a lot
I agree
easier.
with you 100%.
Yeah.
And
It's a good idea.
it's up. I mean, you gave us the idea. We're directing. It's just a matter of department heads starting to do it.
And then we just push Code Red.
Just put it out there. They have to do it.
Can I ask a question to Councilman Messier? So does C-Click Fix give us the
Or-
option of sending out information?
So when, which hopefully, I just talked to Mark about this, hopefully that'll be implemented soon. C-Click Fix, if you're signed up to it, when that comes out, you can get some kind of a mobile alert. It's not a call, but it'll be like a text alert. So if you sign up for it, it'll be similar to that.
So we
could
send information
yeah, I mean,
out,
by the time,
potentially.
when it gets in, and obviously you got to build a core group of people. There's way more people on Code
Right.
Red than even when we start C-Click Fix. It'll be a small number to start, but yeah, you could also utilize that for it as well.
Thank you.
Or you could also utilize it if you see that they missed an area. Let's say a car was there, you could utilize it for that as well.
Right, right.
So that's what we're agreeing to that tonight, as far as where it's gonna be put out.
Dave, what is the roadblocks for using Code Red? And 2 Facebook pages. Well, one you'd have to give Jay the information.
Yeah, if
too.
I had it, obviously I'd put it out there.
When we originally got Code Red, it was supposed to be for emergency purposes only. And
Street
Fred,
sweeping's emergency.
Fred didn't want, street sweeping's emergency now? Okay.
If you're on a motorcycle.
He didn't want to overuse it because he didn't want people getting phone calls every single night saying, okay, we're on this street, or tomorrow we're gonna be on this street.
But, well,
And the people are gonna get sick of it and
no,
then start complaining that they
every,
get it.
every street wouldn't get it
So-
though. It would be
No,
like
I'm telling you what
yeah.
happened back then.
Okay.
Okay, so we never used it. It was used, we used it through the police department because we don't have access to it.
Right.
We used it through the police department for bans on parking for snowstorms and stuff like that, or emergencies. But we never used it for any of that other stuff because, like Fred said, he didn't want to overburden everybody with multiple phone calls. I mean, I wouldn't want a phone call at 11, 12 o'clock at night saying, don't park your car.
You set up a time.
You know, but it just, whenever it happens to come out, you know? So, I mean, that's why we haven't
I
been
mean,
using it.
I think it's even as simple as. I
But
mean,
we put it on Facebook. It's on our, we put it on our Facebook.
where the street sweepers are going to be.
Not, we used to put it on there. and
Yeah,
then
but a lot of
it
people,
never even got any
what they're
hits.
saying,
We
no,
stopped
because
doing
they
it.
don't get on it.
Well, that's
But
there
if
was-
they get a Code Red,
But that's the responsibility of the citizen to
no,
seek
if
it
they don't
out.
have a computer, a lot of them don't, believe it or not. I mean, my mother is one, so if they got a car parked on the road, they don't know when they're down Crossland Road and there's
So
a lot
how-
of people like
where'd
that
she
in
get
my
the
ward.
information? Like, what's a way of getting information to her?
On the Code Red, we got the
So you would get
means
that
of
on your
reaching
phone?
out.
So we're gonna have to get set up as a user so we can go on it and use it.
And for the record, Mrs. P, I saw you on Snapchat the other night. It might have been Nicole taking the picture of you, but I saw you on Snapchat.
Buy your mom a computer.
So will that work for you, Dave? I mean, I think it's to get it out more, to let people know these are the 3 places that you can look
Right.
for something. And
Then there's no excuses.
We
right,
had
and
it
then
on-
eventually you're gonna get more and more.
We also had it on the town website. I used to update it every day for the town website. We did it for 2 years that way. Nobody even knew it was there, so we stopped
Dave, can
doing
I
it
tell
because
you
of the
something?
ways, so.
How long has that website been in existence?
The town's website?
Yeah.
This, the one, main
How,
one?
how long?
I don't know, forever.
Forever? You know I never once went on that website?
Well, that's
I don't
what I'm
even know how to
saying.
get on it.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I stopped doing it, because nobody was looking at it.
I don't. I
It was
I
just a
never.
waste of time.
I
Well, you
never
don't
got
know
on
if
that,
anybody
and I
did.
never hit the computer to watch this streaming. Never. Don't even know how to do it. I don't care to do it.
I know. I've talked to you about your emails.
Right. I just call you up directly. That's what I want. Dave, you didn't do this.
I print text messages and put them in an envelope to them.
Hey, I'm not gonna deny it.
So we'll have to
Well,
get set
I'll
up
tell you
on-
what, here's what I would do.
On Code Red, and we'll
Yes,
use the
got
Code
it.
Red.
And I would, that was one thing, and you could also reach out to Pawtucket and say, how are you doing this? Doesn't take
We
much to
know
reach
how
out.
to do it. We did it in the past.
Well,
but
ask
it
them,
was-
ask them what they're doing. I mean, if
we
if-
weren't using Code Red because, like I said, I had this conversation with Fred when we first got it. He didn't want to overuse it and
I
burden people with
personally think,
multiple
I
phone
personally
calls.
think if you let them know, even on a Friday, the message goes out that we're gonna be in your neighborhood on that week, the
Yeah.
following week.
Yeah.
That gives people the opportunity to sweep off their sidewalks,
I
put it in the
understand
street,
that.
do whatever.
We have a map in the DPW. Every time the sweeper guy comes in, he marks off the map of what he did. We know exactly where he was. We know exactly where he's going. People call up all the time. We go to the map, we look at it, we say, okay, he's gonna be in this area tomorrow. And everything worked fine.
The Uber drivers
you know?
have it, that little app, you can see where they're going. We could have one of those for the street.
There you go.
Serious. It's not that difficult.
Put a tracking device in the sweeper.
Pawtucket came in every evening at 6 p.m.
And- Thank you.
Dave, I'm not questioning where you are or where you're going. Personally, I don't care. I just know you know what you're doing, And we should be avoided as the middlemen.
Right.
Because you're the one making the decision, you know, and it has to.
We did it for multiple years, but no one ever looked at it.
Thank you.
So it was like we're wasting our time doing it, so we stopped doing it.
Thank you, Dave. Anna?
Just a quick mention, when you use that system, you can make your caller ID say anything you want. A lot of people got messages where they didn't understand that it was actually the town calling. So they either didn't pick up the message, or they ignored the call, whatever. You could actually have it say, street sweeping West Warwick update.
You
You
talking
can
about
read that,
robocalls?
yes,
This is different.
the system that you're using, the Code Red
Is it part of
system, is a
robocall?
robocall.
Yeah. Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
They're all the same basic technology. I've used them. You can put anything on there so people will look at their phone. They're not going to object to people saying, oh, I've just been notified they're going to do my street sweeping this week. I've heard people appreciating it. They really appreciated knowing about
Yeah,
the
they do.
road. So, you know, if you identify that call, because everybody for the most part has caller ID, if you identify that call, I don't think you're going to get any objections. And if you do it between the hours of 5 and 7, you're not interrupting
agree.
anybody.
Tom, thank you for that idea. Thank you, Anna.
And one more thing, if I'm not mistaken, it's not a phone call from Code Red.
That's
With
what I'm
that
saying.
app
Isn't
that
it
your son
isn't
set
it
us
a
up
text?
with,
It's different. It does send out a call.
Maybe it was in a setup. Did you get to set it up? Because I always get it as a text, I thought.
I get it as 20.
Alright, okay.
It all depends on how you set yourself up with the Code Red. So I can get it on my cell phone and my home phone. It's a matter of how I do it. It's how you set yourself up. For instance, I sometimes don't like things being sent here, so it goes right to my house. West Warwick School Department does not call my cell phone. They call my wife's cell phone and my home phone number. That's it. So it's how you set yourself up. It's how I set myself up to school. It's how I set myself up with Code Red.
Yeah, but mine doesn't even come through as a phone call.
It comes up as a
from
text.
Tony Petrarca, but Channel 12 is lightning in your area.
Yeah.
Right.
They'll send text.
That must have been in the initial setup.
Yeah.
Because that's how mine does too. That's why when Anna mentioned the phone call, I was thinking robocall because we get it as text. Okay.
Are you all done with Ward
I'm all
4?
done with Ward 4.
That was short and sweet.
That was short.
That's what he
That
said.
was short.
Hey, well,
Three short points.
they're valid points.
Jay?
First, I want to mention the bike path maintenance. I think you had told me that there are people ask me about some of the grass being cut. There are people out there right now, correct, David?
I spoke to actually one of the kids I used to coach. He's working for the town. They started last Tuesday after Memorial Day. Again, if people are parked in the way, they're not going to be able to do their work. For instance, the area you talked about.
I spoke to the gentleman today.
These are young kids, 18, 19 years old, running weed whackers, lawnmowers, and power equipment. And when they come up, they use their common sense. They're not going to go towards a bunch of Mercedes and BMWs from an auto body dealership that's parked there. So they decided to move on. They continued working, and then later on, you get a call saying they didn't cut that side. Well, they didn't cut that side because somebody was parked there. And you know, I'm not expecting these kids to go knocking on businesses. And not only that, the business people watched them cut the grass and didn't do anything about it. And actually, one came over, looked at his car, and gave dirty looks. And the kid's like, I'm not going to get in a confrontation with anybody. Which, very smart 18, 19-year-old kid says, I'm doing my job, and kept moving. Freddie was actually there for the conversation because it was at a softball game. And I happened just to talk to the kid, and he joking with me, he goes, I'm on overtime now, right?
That's fine.
But I said, no, you're not. So thank you for the information. And I passed that along to you. So again, when we have, it's almost like street sweeping. If you got somebody parked there and they can't cut around those cars, they're not going to be able to. So, you know, we have to let those areas also know that we're going to be in the area. And if I'm correct, I think Freddie said to the individual, if you run into these situations, give me a call. We can send somebody by and have them tell them to move their cars or whatever, and you can continue doing
And I think most times if you ask them, they're gonna, you know, you're trying to clean up. I think most people are.
Well, when they sat there and watched them, I think they would have moved their cars, but that's not the situation.
Also, at the West Warwick Public Library, they have the spring raffle going on right now. They have a lot of cool raffle baskets, kids stuff. They have like some Batman Legos, and it's 50 cents for one raffle ticket and 3 for $1. That's like back to the Stone Age for those prices. So if you want to go support the West Warwick Public Library, stop there. They're doing the raffle this Saturday, so you can go buy the raffle tickets until this Saturday at 11. And I want to thank the the STEAM Scouts, which stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, Arts, and Mathematics. They invited me down to the church on Saturday. They did a kind of a science fair, science exhibit. So thank you for inviting me down there. It was fun. My son loved it. He learned a lot. He didn't want to get dragged in there in the beginning, and then I had to drag him out when we left. So thank you for inviting me down there. It was fun.
Thank you. Dave and Fred, I know I sent you a lot of issues going on with either drainage, street washouts, Angel Street, Aberdeen. If you could just send me an update tomorrow where we stand and when they're going to get done or when they're going to be worked on, just so I can let my constituents know, so they're not waiting and calling me. I could just give them a heads up. Also, Dave, I did meet with Adam for North Pleasant Street. He told me 2 weeks ago, the developer on North Pleasant, he said he was going to have that road paved within the next 2 weeks. It's been 3. Can we just make sure that he's continuing moving forward with that? Well, he told me the machine was broken, so.
It's the contract. With the weather, they're all backed up.
No, I understand.
So he can't get to him until he finishes his little.
No, I understand. But if you could just send me an update on those so I can let my constituents know. Angela, Ward 1?
A few things. Dave, I called Freddie today. Who? Yeah, who? Freddie who? Wakefield Street, when Brito was on there, when he parked all his vehicles on the island going to Old Natick Road, he told you that he was going to repair all the damage he did. It's time to repair. And near the Midville, when you come around the bend where the cemetery is, he dug all that up also. So that has to be repaired at Brito's expense. River Street's supposed to be done. I've been hearing that for a year now. Yeah. And I see Cotty doing Old Natick Road. He's on Glendale Drive. All these other roads are getting done.
Yeah, because they're doing it for us.
Yeah.
If you stop doing it for us, then you go work for them, but then you'll be saying, we're not getting our roads done, so where do I go?
No, well, it's not because of the weather. No, I know that.
Oh, they're backed up because of the weather. So they're sneaking ours in for us.
Yeah, we got a few more roads going on, and I gotta say, between the water company and our road bond money in Ward 1, Ward 1's in great shape. There's very few roads that are bad now. They're almost all brand new. And I thank the water company for that. But we're gonna be paying for it in our rates, but that's about all I got on that.
Hey, you keep raising rates for the water and electric every meeting, huh?
Well, they are. They already said they're gonna go up. I mean, they can't take that hit.
Upcoming appointments, Planning Board, 1 alternate member, 5-year term, 1 member, 5-year term, Technology Committee, 1 Ward 2 to expire 12/31/18, 1 Ward 3 to expire 12/31/18, and 1 Ward 5 to expire 12/31/18. Patuxent River Authority, 1 3-year term, Zoning Board of Review, 1 5-year term, Kent County Water Authority, 1 10-year term. Public comment?
Any public comment from the council?
I have one, quick. I'll keep it quick, I promise. This weekend was the, I don't know if many of you know, but the Special Olympics weekend for the State Summer Games at URI. And if nobody has ever seen the opening ceremony, it's really a sight. The amount of support that these people between the ages 8 and 88 give to one another, not only just athletes, but the amount of volunteers there, it's unbelievable. And our team that represents Coventry West Warwick, they're the Wildcats, and it's a personal thing to me. My son's involved. We've been involved for about 4 or 5 years, and it's something that these people, this is their time. And again, the amount of support that's there. And I'd like to recognize a woman by the name of Deb Contois. She's a TA in the school system here in West Warwick, but she volunteers to organize this group. And it's not just about the summer. They do things fall, winter, and spring as well. And she doesn't get the credit that she deserves. But she does an unbelievable job with this group of kids and adults. So again, we had a great showing, and it was a great weekend. So I'd like to thank her and congratulations to the Wildcats.
Thank you, Jay. Anybody else from the council? Any public comment? Anna?
Sorry, it takes me a while to get here. I've been getting some questions on a Facebook page that I run that you know about, Taxpayers Voice. I've been getting some private messages, people inquiring about business licenses. And I tell them to call their, respective councilmen, but I keep getting these questions and people don't seem to want to ask them to anybody in particular. I looked up under business registrations that a registration seems like it's required for basically anything within West Warwick, anything, any type of business. People are asking me if it's an online business, if it's a Facebook business, are licenses required then? I figured with everybody here, everybody that has different businesses, I know Angelo has a business.
$200. They raised mine.
But yours is a physical business.
I pay $500 with the state, $800 with the state. I'm not even gonna get into that. I don't have to pay a town license, and I do. I donate. Because I don't pay enough in taxes.
You donate.
Yeah, I donate.
Councilman Messier, what would you recommend to people that are doing a Facebook business? What do you pay in a license?
I'm registered to the state.
But you're in the town. Everybody's I would think your business is in the state. In the town and in the state, you have to register, don't you?
Town.
No.
You don't have to register in the town?
You should do.
Yes, you do.
I have to register to the town?
You need a town license.
Yes. If you're running a business in the town of West Warwick, and I actually had this conversation with Anna, I didn't know it was specifically anybody particular, but if you have a business in the town of West Warwick, you must register in the town of West Warwick as a business, which is a business license of $125, one-time setup fee, $100, I'm sorry, one-time setup fee, and then $25 each additional year after that. Once the initial setup fee of $100 is because it's your first time, they have to enter everything into the database, and then from there, you would renew every year for $25.
Yeah.
So people are concerned that have online businesses that if they don't have a license, that they are going to be subjected to the violations provision.
Well, it's up to the individual. I think I explained to you is almost like it is an honor system, and also I think I explained to you that it's almost like an unregistered car or somebody who, until somebody finds out about it, it doesn't really apply.
Well,
for the most part,
let's say somebody finds out about it. Do you retroactive their fines?
No.
Okay. All right.
So we would send them a letter. Right now, the clerk's office has the list of every business in town. So if somebody wanted to call up and say, is this a registered business in town? You could call the clerk's office, they can look at it and say yes or no. And at that point, they can, if somebody drops a tip or, says, hey, this is a business in town, the town can look at it at that point.
So if you're a business, like an online business based out of West Warwick, then you don't need to be registered to the state, or you still need to be registered through both of them if it's an online business.
I'm not sure why you're registered with the state, but
at the time I did it because it was a statewide business. So, but
yes, you do have to register with the state, even if you're a sole proprietorship or an LLC or
it depends what licenses you're going for in the state.
Well, yeah, that's true.
I don't think there's an online license right now at the state, but I can double check tomorrow. But for instance, if you're going for a car dealer's license, or if you're
regulated by the state.
You're regulated.
No, that I would understand. This is like a territory that I think people are looking to find out about.
If you're a grow house or anything like that, you're regulated by the state. So those are reasons why you have to get state licenses. Some of correct me if I'm wrong, solicitor, there's not every business has to get a state license.
No. And there's actually some businesses that will be exempt from licensing.
From a state license?
Yeah. And Anna, the way that this came into effect, we were having a lot of trouble down in the block where I am. There's I'm going to tell you how it originated.
Yeah.
For business registrations. There's 22 buildings there and about 48 businesses. What they used to do, there was a lot of problems going on there 4 or 5 years ago where the policemen would go in there and there'd be 7 or 8 businesses in one building. And they'd say, "Where's the owner?" "Oh, he's not here." "Who is it?" "Oh, I don't know who it is now." "What are you doing here?" "I hang around." "What do you hang around with?" "I'm hanging around with my friend. I don't know who owns it." So they could never get an answer.
Yeah.
So what we did, we got together with the rest of the council, the previous councils, and we put a business registration requirement. Now, when you call up and say, "You're on 26 River Street, you're running a body shop." "No, he's not registered." Or, "Yeah, we got a problem with 26 River Street. Who owns that?" "Angelo Padula owns that." And this way here, we got a track on what's going on.
Well, that makes
And
sense. You want
everybody
to know
should
who's
pay.
in your town, obviously.
And again, when we first launched that, it was actually $100 a year, and then we realized that's a little too steep, so we went with the $100 for initial signs, initials, because of all the data entry that had to be done, and then from there it's a $25,000
$25,000?
No, $25 annual fee to the town of West Warwick.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Thank you. Pete? Just state your name and address for the record.
Control,
You might want to move that mic high.
It's not gonna go high enough for Pete.
It's not a personal attack towards you, but it's a promoter's license that you have to get, because you're promoting local businesses. So it's just something that I wanted to add. It's a promotional license that you have to go after.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other public comment?
JMS, any public comments?
Hearing none. Just to give everybody a heads up before we make a motion, again, all the events that are going on here this weekend, promote them. Also, look forward to the second week of July, where another carnival will be in town, along with a giant craft fair. Right now, I hear there's about 70 craft fair vendors that are going to be leasing or renting out the Civic Center. So that's going to be another big event come July, along with fireworks. If everybody remembers the I Love America days here in West Warwick back in the 80s and 90s, Laurie had brought that back. So again, support that, make that successful. Any questions?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Mary Ann,
Yes.
Mark?
the notice you sent us today regarding that dog bite,
Yeah.
did you send that
Is this
stuff
enough?
out? Yes.
Up to,
Oh, it's minus stuff that's probably already been done.
Yeah.
I didn't send anything, I sent everything to you.